Today's session is on acceptance. Every living thing desires to be accepted, right? Whether it is vocalized, whether it is implied or not, every living thing desires to be accepted. There is a sense of wanting validation for your existence here, right? You want to know, why was I created? What am I here for? So there's always a sense of wanting validation for why you are here. And to most people, that means being recognized as someone good, as something good to a certain group of friends, being recognized as something good in a certain career field, within your family, to your spouse, to your children. There is this sense of wanting to be recognized as something good in the earth, right? And so acceptance is when something or someone is received. Okay. Acceptance is when something or someone is received, when something or someone is recognized as being valid, when it has been approved of, right? When it has been perceived to be in its true form of true value. That is what acceptance is. And so to receive something requires consent. This is very important. To receive something requires consent. Before you accept anything, before you approve of anything, your consent is required. Okay. And so, how many things have you consented to that has caused someone to have a different view of you? How many things have you accepted or approved of that has caused someone else to have a different view of you, that has caused someone else to think that you approve of this, that you approve of me treating you this way, that you approve of me speaking to you this way, right? How many things have you approved of that was not valid to you, right? Because if you approve of it, you make it valid, okay? How many things have you rejected that was the truth? What have you failed to realize? What have you failed to accept that you cannot change? Which most of that, for most people, that's other people, right? We fail to accept that we cannot change other people. They have to change themselves, right? What have you failed to realize that you can change, right? Whatever those things are that you named or that you listed from these questions, you consented to when you made the choice to accept it. Okay. When you make that choice to accept something, to receive something, that means you have given your consent. Okay. And so there are many things that we simply accept in our lives, right? And because of this, because we just accept anything that we're given, anything that we hear, right? Because we just accept these things, we have consented to our own downfall and to our own destruction in many ways. So we're not just talking about physically, right? There's things we accept physically that has contributed to our downfall. Spiritually, mentally, emotionally, these are things that we consent to within ourselves, from other people, from other systems, right? You consent when you don't set boundaries. So some of you may say, "Oh, I didn't approve of that." Well, when you don't set boundaries for people, you're consenting. Okay? When you go along to get along, you're consenting. You are approving. You are accepting this. Okay? When you approve of the way you are spoken to or dealt with, you are consenting. You are accepting it. Okay? Your silence can be consent to your own destruction. So not vocalizing what you feel, right? Just not saying it. That's consent. Okay? And it starts like this, accepting your current situation and not being strong enough or wise enough to seek a way out. That's consent. Okay? You are accepting your situation. Sometimes we go, "Oh, I'm not accepting this," but what are you doing? If you're not doing anything, if you're not saying anything to help get out, you are consenting to it. Okay. We accept words, feelings, thoughts, and ideas from ourselves and from other people that don't benefit us. When we have an idea and it's something negative, right? If it's something you don't approve of, you have to do something with it, right? If you don't do nothing with it, it just lives in your head. Okay, these things that we accept, they frame our perspective. It frames our perception of ourselves and the world around us. It affects how we view our world. It affects how we perceive other people to be, right? Some things you're not able to consent to, right? Because you lack knowledge. Okay, but we consent to it anyway. We know we don't have enough information to make this decision or to approve of this thing. But instead of obtaining that knowledge so that we can make a sound decision, we approve of it anyway, right? Without any insight on how it will affect our future. And sometimes we know how it's going to affect us and we still consent to it. We still approve of it. We still accept it. Okay. And some people, some of you might go back to childhood and remember things that were not in your control as a child, right? But as an adult, you are able to make a decision about what you're going to do about those things that happened in your childhood, right? So often we go back and we say, I can't do this because this happened to me, right? Well, that might have been out of your control, but what you do with that is in your control, okay? As an adult, you approve of fear, right? You have to give fear your consent to torment you, to terrorize you, to keep you up at night. You have to approve of it. You have to validate it, right? As an adult, you have to validate that feeling of rejection and abandonment in order for it to be accepted by you, right? If we stop consenting to these negative emotions in a way that blocks our access to a better life, we will receive and recognize the positive ones. A lot of times we don't even see the positive things that we could be involved in because we filled ourselves with so much of the negative, right? We will accept the positive feelings, thoughts, and ideas when we make room for them by kicking out all of the negative things that we hold on to, because why? Those negative things has defined who we are, right? So we have been defined by the things that has happened to us, by our circumstances and our situations, right? Versus us taking that and deciding to make a different choice, right? Not consenting to the fear, not consenting to the anxiety and the worry and the rejection and the abandonment, right? You can accept that a traumatic thing has happened to you without accepting that that traumatic thing is you, right? So a lot of times we will go through something and it becomes us. That's who we become, right? Versus accepting that, okay, that happened to me, but that's not who I am, right? You don't have to receive being a product of your trauma, of your upbringing. You don't have to receive that. You don't have to approve of that, right? You have to accept that it happened, but you don't have to become it. Okay, you accept the truth of the action, right? Because you don't want to be delusional and say this never happened to me. You accept the truth of the action that has happened, the truth of a mistake that may have been made, but you are responsible for how it affects your life. Okay, it will affect you, and you are responsible for how it affects your life. What do you do with the effects that it has caused? Right? Do you deal with them, or do you submerge them? Do you ignore them? Do you act like this thing never happened to me? Right? Even if something is truly out of your control, you can accept that this is how it always will be, out of your control, or you can choose to do something about what you can control, right? So often when things are overwhelming, we focus on what is out of our control instead of thinking, what can I do? There has to be something that is in my control that I can do about this, right? You can take a bruised, discarded fruit and use the seeds to plant a beautiful tree that blooms good fruit, right? You don't just throw it away. Okay. Some of you have given up on yourselves because you made some mistakes. But there are still seeds inside of you. There are still ideas and plans for your future that need to be planted, regardless of the mistakes you made, regardless of the things that have happened to you. There are still seeds there that were planted there that must bloom, okay? So accept who you are if it is who you are, not what your circumstances dictated for you. Okay. As a child, you can be a victim of circumstance, but as a sound-minded adult, you're only a victim of what you accept. Okay. And I'm saying sound-minded because there's some people who have gone through things that have literally restructured their brain and how they process and how they think. Right. So that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a sound-minded adult. Right. Is only a victim of what they accept. Okay. And I'm not speaking on crimes against you, that because most crimes against you are not in your control. We're not talking about criminal activity. Okay. But some crimes against us are based on our willful ignorance. Right. And we have to take responsibility for that, for our part in that, not the other person's part. Right. If you go into a bad neighborhood and you just got to have this certain candy, right? And you have a really, really nice car. You're choosing to do that, right? Now, you don't take responsibility for the person that might rob you, but you take responsibility for making that bad decision, and only the bad decision, right? Yes, people shouldn't do that, but some stuff we know better and we do it anyway, right? So some crimes, very few, some crimes is due to willful ignorance, right? But most crimes are out of our control, right? But we are still responsible for how it can affect us, right? If it causes us to completely shut down and not live life, right? A lot of things that we have gone through is because we tolerated a lot, right? When you begin to tolerate something or someone, you are on the road to accepting it, right? When you tolerate it, you're going to approve it, receive it, or make it valid, right? So it starts with you just tolerating it, right? Tolerating something is putting up with it. But after putting up with something for so long, you stop putting up a fight. And acceptance is when there's no longer a fight, there's no longer a protest, right? There's no longer any kind of reaction from you, you just accepted it. So when you start just tolerating that one thing, before long, you're going to stop putting up a fight and you're going to just accept that, okay, this is what it is, right? So you want to stay away from tolerating, because before long you will begin to accept it. When you accept things that are not good for you, you are making them equal to you by your consent. For those that are writing, that is something that you need to write down. When you accept things that are not good for you, you are making them equal to you by your consent. So when you are treated bad and you tolerate it, then you accept it, you are agreeing that the treatment you are receiving is equal to what you deserve. Okay? When you tolerate it, when you accept it, you are agreeing that this treatment is equal to what I deserve. Okay? Tolerance and acceptance can give a false sense of peace, right? Because if you tolerate it, you accept it, you're not ruffling any feathers or anything, everything's okay. But that's a false sense of peace. And let me tell you why. In there seeming to be peace, what have you agreed to be equal to? Have you agreed to become the names that they are calling you? Right? Have you undervalued yourself in that process? Have you minimized your abilities? Have you accepted less than you deserve, right? For this false sense of peace. Have you settled in any area of your life because of what you are willing to tolerate and accept? I want you to think about that. When you accept it, you are saying, this is what I deserve. Okay. Some people tolerate things under the misconception of being understanding, right? You can understand how somebody feels because maybe you've gone through a similar thing, right? But you can be understanding without accepting bad behavior, okay? Without approving lies, without consenting to mistreatment. You can still be understanding, right? You can be a compassionate, understanding, empathetic person without validating evil and making evil comfortable next to you, okay? When you desire to be accepted by people, this is what I want you to think about. What are you consenting to? When you walk through somewhere and you see a certain group of people and you have this preconceived notion that they must be important, but what are you consenting to when you desire to be accepted by them? Right. And these are things that start in like elementary school, right? We start, you know, people go off into different groups and you desire to be received. You desire to be validated by these different groups of people, right? When you desire to be accepted by people, what are you consenting to? Are they people that are equal to you? And when I say equal, I mean, are their morals equal to yours? Are their beliefs the same? Do they have integrity, right? Do they have the ability and desire to grow, right? And we know that people can have different beliefs, but some people can have beliefs that go against your belief, right? Is that what you're consenting to? Are you consenting to be accepted by people that have zero desire to grow? Okay. What you accept gives you access. What you accept gives you access. But whatever you are consenting to could give you access to good or evil, right? Acceptance opens doors. Like who you are accepted by, it can open doors for you, right? But is it opening that door for good or bad? Right? So make sure that you are desiring acceptance from what is good, not what you've convinced yourself to be good, right? Because we have these pictures and we see these movies and we hear these things from other people that says, you should do this, right? And so we think we should do that. But is it good for you? Right? So make sure you are desiring acceptance from what actually is good, not what you convinced yourself or allow somebody else to convince you is good for you. Okay? Some people, they're bad people, right? Some decisions give you the wrong access to the wrong things, right? And give the wrong things access to you, right? Give the wrong people access to you. So when you think about that acceptance, think about the access that you are giving, right? And the access that is coming to you when you accept something. Okay. And I mean acceptance on every level, accepting friendships, accepting a religion, accepting a spouse, accepting a job promotion, right? Signing your name on a contract. What are you consenting to? Because we sign stuff and we don't know what we are approving, right? Whatever you are approving of makes it equal to you. So if it is beneath you, if it is less than you, if you're settling and you approve of it, that was a choice. Okay. Acceptance seeking behaviors can keep you from making decisions, right? Whether the decision is big or small. You can be very indecisive because you don't want to be wrong, right? If you feel like you just have to be accepted by everybody, right? You don't want to be seen as bad. You don't want to be disapproved by other people, right? You don't want to not feel that validation for your existence. Okay. So you avoid making decisions, right? You seek constant reassurance from other people while taking no measures to assure yourself. right? And that makes it easier for you to consent to things that are not good for you, right? Just so you appear good to other people. And this does not work because most times these people are only greater or better than you in your mind, right? You have perceived them to be more than they are. And then you have perceived yourself to be less than you are. Okay? So be careful that you are not putting people in a place that they don't belong and then desiring to be accepted by them by minimizing yourself when you are just as great. You are just as good as they are. Okay? So when that happens, you end up rejecting people that place you higher than those people that you perceive to be better, because your truth is that you are worth less than them, right? So the people that are telling you, no, you can do the same thing, you reject them because you feel you're less. But the truth is, you're not. Okay? You just placed somebody else higher than you and placed yourself lower. Okay? And the truth of the matter is, you are worth far more than you could even wrap your head around. Okay? When you settle, there's no risk and there's no judgment. When you settle for things, there's no risk and there's no judgment, right? But settling also means that you are not living. Okay? You're not living at the capacity that you should be. You're not getting the access that you could be given, right? You're not getting the visibility. You're not getting the influence or the recognition that you deserve when you settle, because you're validating things and people that is not in the same place where you are supposed to be. Okay? There is a desire to be approved, to be accepted, to be recognized as valid. And there's a fact that you already are. You already are accepted. Some of you have been searching for acceptance from those that are not your equal. Okay? They're not equal in their values. They're not equal in their integrity. They're not equal in their moral compass. They're not even a part of your destiny, but you're trying to be accepted by them. Okay? But you're also running from those who are equal to you because you don't feel qualified. Okay? But you're constantly minimizing and belittling yourself and settling to fit into the places that are below God's standard for you, right? And though when you do that, when you settle, when you keep going below, it will keep you feeling like you don't belong. It will keep you feeling like you're a mistake, that you're worthless, that nobody cares, nobody loves you, nobody's concerned about you, because you're settling, right? You're running from the people that are equal because you don't feel qualified, right? You have accepted these thoughts and feelings from people that are not equal to you. And I need you to stop consenting and approving of those thoughts. Stop approving of those words that has been repeated in your mind, that has been repeated by your family and that fake circle of friends. It's not even a circle, it's a hole that you keep falling in, right? Reject it and find where you are supposed to be, okay? You are already accepted by where you should be. You're already accepted by the group you're supposed to be with. You're already accepted by the man or the woman that you're supposed to marry, okay? They are waiting for you to stop running, to stop hiding. They're waiting for you to show up, okay? If your job doesn't accept you, there's another one waiting for you that will. If your family is toxic, there's another family that's waiting for you, right? If your circle is a hole, there's another circle waiting to fill that hole, okay? So your desire to be accepted is not wrong, but you may be placing it in the wrong people and in the wrong places, okay? Be careful of what you consent to, because you make it equal to you, even if it's not. What you accept, what you approve of, what you validate, I want you to be careful about what you are seeking acceptance for. Okay. Always think, what am I consenting to? What am I tolerating? Right? Because you can recognize something is bad and you just tolerate it, and you might give yourself a time limit. I'll tolerate this for another month. Right? But it leads to acceptance. It leads to you approving of it. It leads to you consenting to your own destruction. Right? It leads to you approving and saying that this is equal to me. This is what I deserve when you accept it. Okay, so that concludes our session for today. I want to end with our statement that says this feeling is temporary. It is just a process. Face your disappointments in yourself and in others. Some stuff is your fault. It was a bad decision, but you can make it better. You can change the outcome. Your life is more than the sum of your hard experiences, your pain, and your failures. It is more than that. So stop settling, okay? You can still climb that mountain or command it to move. You will live again. Your happiness is not determined by what is happening right now. It is determined by what you make the choice to make happen later. What you do with this moment is imperative to you understanding why you needed to go through it, why it had to happen to you. And after that, you will see that it happened for you. So go and be blessed on today. Think about what you are accepting. Think about what you are tolerating, what you are consenting to, what you are validating. Remember that the things that you may have experienced as a child, you can control your life now. Even if you went through things that was out of your control, you have control of your life now. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to accept that this was a thing that happened to me, but it's not me, and move forward and become the person that God has created you to be? Okay, so that concludes this session. Go and be blessed, and I will see you all next Friday.